For those on the call, Glenn, we've met before. I'm Tama, and one of the co-founders of HSsegue. My husband is also on the call, and sitting in the conference room down the hall from him is a little chemistry class. Great homeschool chemistry class that's studying chemistry, but we'll go ahead and get started on this. So I have a new computer, so bear with me if I have a little difficulty in navigating, but we wanted to see, I'm already having trouble. There we go. Okay. There's over 2 million homeschoolers today, and many of us are separated into different support groups or co-ops. And many of us also belong to multiple chat groups, or we might even have our own Yahoo chat group within or associated with our co-op or support group. And when you look at HSsegue, the belief behind the website is to do a couple things. To kind of marry at a grassroots level the ability for groups to operate separately and independently, so you can actually silo your group, but you now also have the flexibility to share activities. So if this is your group, what you can do on HSsegue is choose to post certain field trips, open houses, park days, or other events and put them out to the general community. So you can silo your group activities, but you can also make them public in terms of advertising activities for your group. This is a new feature that we introduced in December. We've also eliminated the need for a chat group by incorporating a full functioning forum. So now you can create a forum within your own group that allows you to arrange discussions by topic. So, you know, a lot of times when you're in a Yahoo group, some of it's applicable, some of it's not. But with a group forum, you can actually sign up for topics that you're specifically interested in. Interesting way to use the forum is also either as a weekly update, or some of the groups on our site are actually using a forum designated for specific classes to post assignments. So that's another thing to kind of keep in mind. There's a ton of flexibility. So today I just want to give you an overview of what we're going to be presenting. We're going to take a look at the different types of groups you can organize on HSsegue, what your group page looks like. We're going to go through a quick site overview, quickly how to post a class for your event. We're just going to review the forum because it's pretty intuitive. How you would now manage payments, and how you can communicate with participants and manage participants after an activity has been set up, whether or not that's an event or class. We're going to show you how you can message all group members and now create a, if you will, weekly newsletter or newsletter that would go out to all your participants with a click of one button. And then finally, we're just going to take a quick kind of checklist of things that we didn't review in this presentation that you can learn on your own while traveling around the site. So the three types of groups that you can create on HSsegue is, the first one is an open group. Anyone can join that group that's a member of HSsegue. The second type of group that you can create is a private group. And those are divided into two categories. The first category is an approval group, and that requires that your members of your group apply to your group, and then either as the administrator, moderator, or group owner, you approve those members. Now that approval group will appear on the HSsegue website as a group to join. The second type of group that you can create is a little bit more private. It's an invitational group only. You invite members to your group, and it does not appear on our group list on HSsegue. So it's a bit more, you know, if you will, private. So you've got the flexibility of determining what kind of group you want to create, and you can change that group anytime you want. So if you decide you set up a invite group, you can change it to an approval group. Just by going into your administrative group page, or as the group owner, you can change those settings. So let's take a look at what your group page would look like. And I'm going to go ahead and tab over to HSsegue, and as you can see up here in the right-hand corner, I am logged in. That's me, Tama1. And to find your group, you would just click on the My Groups link right here where my cursor is. And I did that and pulled up my HSsegue group for demonstrations. Now I'm the group owner, so over here I've got the capability of editing my group, messaging members, deleting it, editing the About tab. But if I was just a member of the group, I wouldn't have all those functionalities. I would only see the group forum link right here, and I would only see, I think the other category is leave the group. But basically this is what you're paid.
Emma?
Yeah.
Can I jump in here just to, because you're delivering a lot of information, so I just wanted to encourage, since Glenn and Julie are both from the same group, if you have any questions as we go along, feel free to interrupt.
Thank you, Dale. So this is your group page, and you see at the top several tabs. Now these tabs you can customize, so you can either have all of the tabs within your group or select only the tabs that you would like your group members to view. On your About page, I've just put in minimal information, but you can upload photos. You can create links to new classes. You can put reminders in. You can have, links to different sites. You can upload leadership photos. There's just a number of things that you can do on your About page, and you would edit that as the group owner over here on the Edit About link, which I'm not going to go ahead and click. But
that page can also be public, and it can actually be associated with a domain name. Just I don't know if you were going to mention that, but some groups actually have their domain name point directly to their page.
Right,
and so
right.
Essentially their website.
Right. The second tab available, and this is probably the most important, this is your group activities page. And these are all the activities associated with your group. And you can sort on those. Some groups, what they do is they like to post classes in periods, or period 1 being during a certain time frame, period 2 being during a certain time frame. And so what you can do is you can click on the title, and if you click on the title, then you see the classes sorted, if you will. All Class 1 listings are listed first, Class 2, and so you can kind of see them in that arrangement, if you desire. You can also come in within your group page and, obviously see where the location is, the start and end times. You can sort on any of these columns, so you can sort by grade as well. Now, within this activities page, you can also go ahead and look at your group calendar by clicking on the calendar drop-down menu, and this will show you all of your group activities via a calendar mode, if you will. And so you can see my group has activities scheduled on February 16th. If I were to click on that link, I would be taken to the details of that activity. So your activities can actually be posted, or will be viewable in your group calendar. So let's go back to the activities tab here. The third.
A couple of quick questions, since it's just Julie and I still on as far as I can tell.
Sure.
On the call. I mean, as I mentioned last year when we talked about this, but it's been a long time, so I don't expect you to remember. Just our very focused requirement right now is we're not going to try and replace our Yahoo group or our website. There's some resistance to the forum idea amongst some of the teams within our group, so Yahoo groups will continue to serve for the time being until we kind of warm the conversation through our co-op, or what we call enrichment classes. And the enrichment classes all center around this, what you're showing us right now. Our main objective in engaging HSsegue right now is to ease the entire teacher to student registration process, or student to teacher, however you want to look at it, allowing people to do online registrations for classes, and being able to build out those schedules of classes in a biannual effort, spring or fall and then spring, and having sort of a date when the registrations are live and allowed, and then having that kind of workflow to go through of, here's the superset of classes, a parent gets in and they've got 5 children, how do they assign those 5 children to classes and engage the instructors to pay. I mean, that's a lot of ground I just covered, but that just gives you kind of a flavor of where our minds are focused right now, and not so much on the other features that HSsegue has to offer. I'm sure that'll come in the future, but...
Yeah, and Glenn, one thing I should mention, you see the little text there, it says get code. So if you decide to, keep your own site, essentially you can, create this page with the filters you want, if you just want to see classes, or you just want to see classes in a certain location, or whatever it is that you want. And then if you click that get code button, you can copy and paste that code into your own website, and you'll on your page you'll get a view that looks exactly the same way as the page that you've created here.
Oh, cool.
Less the menus and tabs and things, but just the list of activities. So
Sure.
if you wanted to post those activities into your own website, this is that way your users can stay within their same environment, but then if they click on a certain class, they can register on HSsegue.
And that's, I think we're much more focused right now on how to improve our workflow during the registration process than presentation, or, I mean, that's going to become an important part when we get to the actual parents getting in and doing this stuff. But yeah, what's kind of the process for a distributed audience of instructors to make their class entries and then go through an approval process centrally of which classes are approved, and then finally, how do those approved classes get presented to people so that they can start the registration process?
Well, there's a lot of new flexibility with that if you want to just jump into the posting process now, Tamla.
Sure.
There's a lot of new moderation features that we've added that would allow, it depends on how you want to do it, but if you want to allow your teachers to make their own postings, which is what we recommend, that way, all of the work doesn't get dumped onto an administrator or something. But the teachers can make their own postings and then make your administrative people moderators of those postings. So, and then those moderators can either collect the payments or approve the classes to go live, or reset the schedules or locations if you want the moderators to determine what room they're going to be in, for instance, or that sort of thing. Then all of that flexibility is now built in.
So should I, well, here's what I'll do. I'll go ahead, for the sake of Julia, I'll just tab over to my next slide here and give you an idea, Julia, I think Glenn may remember this, of basically how HSsegue works. So either this would be done by the individual instructors and or administrators, but they would make their class postings or event postings on HSsegue, and when they do that, the owner of the group and the person that posts the class gets a receipt or notification of what has been posted. And then this individual in your group, if they respond to a class posting, the organizer, you can actually set up the posting or the class so that it automatically enrolls the applicants, and at that time payment is requested if there are fees associated with that class. And the applicant then, if it's set up with auto-enroll, the applicant is automatically enrolled, and you can manage, request, and track and send payment statements as the organizer, or if you've been assigned as a fee moderator to that class, then you can manage payments as well. And then the applicant receives a confirmation that they've been enrolled, and that class or event will then appear in their calendar. So let's just tab back over, and that's just kind of a real basic overview of how the site works in terms of enrollment. But let's take a look, as Dale suggested, at how to post a class. And so what we do is we go to the Post a Class form, and it's a slightly different form that you may remember in the past. There's several different tabs that you're going to create or fill out when you're creating a class. So I think the question, Glenn, that you would want to decide is, you know, once you have your approved classes, then you're going to just basically decide, okay, who posts those class, who's going to post that class. And if it's the teachers that post the class, then they would fill out this form. If you had a central administrator or moderator, then they could, you know, post these classes as well. But the first thing you're going to do in the Setup tab is determine whether or not it's private to a group. Now, you'll see I've got a lot of different groups here. Some of them I'm just helping to moderate as they get started. Others I actually am involved in. But in this case, I would post this class for the HSsegue group for demonstration. And then I come down to the next question: how will the class be taught? And if it's an individual instructor, I would click that. I think you're ringing in the background, Dale. Can you mute for a sec? There, I think.
Sorry, I thought I was.
No. Thank you. You can click individual instructor, and if you are the instructor, you would obviously click the yes button.
Unmuted?
No.
That's interesting. The mute button's not working. Okay, sorry.
If you're not going to be the instructor, then you would click no, and at that point in time you would enter the instructor's username on HSsegue, and then their name would be populated as the instructor into the posting. And as you can see, you can add multiple instructors. Then you simply choose, you know, from the drop-down menu, the grade range, and you fill in your maximum group size, maximum size of the class. If you set it at, say, 10 or 15, and once that maximum is met, HSsegue will automatically waitlist applicants that exceed the maximum group size, and you'll see them time-stamped, so you'll know, you know, who to admit based on when they applied. You'll see that time-stamped. Now, this is a brand new feature that we have just rolled out in December. What we've done is we've allowed you to hide your class postings on the main HSsegue board. And I should have reviewed that with you, but you saw the group page where you had your activities. You also have the ability to view activities up here in the View Post tab. That's activities that are posted on HSsegue either by individual instructors, tutors in your area, and once you log in, you'll only see what's in your area within a 30 to 60 mile radius based on whether or not it's a class or an event. So you can hide that posting on the board. We also send out a weekly digest similar to an email Yahoo group where you may see those digested on a daily basis. This is a weekly basis, and we send out all new class and event postings to HSsegue members just in that area that are listed for the week. So you can hide that again from the posting digest, so that you can keep those completely contained to your group. You can, yes?
Can you set those as defaults? Because, I mean, this first go-around, I mean, that's definitely our target is we're not trying to provide currently, I mean, it's a great objective in the future. We're not trying to provide regional visibility to anyone either in either direction, either outwards or our members looking for classes in the area. There are lots of other ways they do that right now, and we can get into how to streamline that through HSsegue and at some point. But the main thing is just we only accept people into these classes who are members of our homeschool group first, because we have some guidelines on behavior and dress code and that they have to agree to in general, and then only a subset of the overall membership actually begins or takes advantage of the classes that are offered in a co-op style. So, so the first question is just, can you make the default that it's only posted in our group?
Dale, maybe you can address that. Is he? Are you there?
Well, I muted myself, so y'all had a hard time unmuting. Yeah, I think, Glenn, what you're saying is you'd like to be able to set defaults for your group so that when people post, then certain things just are automatically set when a member of your group posts. Is that what I understand?
Yeah, and almost maybe, is it even possible to customize those help hints there to say that currently we're not using the public posting feature. It needs to stay hidden for the time being. That may be a nice to have more than a requirement. But I can imagine even if we set the default, somebody's going to come in there and say, well, why is this checked and what's it for? And
yeah, we aren't currently planning, and I'm making some notes here, but we weren't currently planning to customize the tooltips for letting having a group basically customize their own tooltips, but we do plan to introduce a default so that the group can within your group
Am I ignoring
page, which is where Tama was a moment ago. Within the group page, you can set the defaults for your group's postings. So whenever somebody posts for your group, those settings are going to be preset.
Sorry, that's right.
Now, we didn't plan to make them unchangeable. Now, that's another kind of interesting. But we plan to have them preset. But if the poster wants to change them, they will be able to change them.
Yep. Hey, Julia, can you mute, because we can hear you talking. It shows who's talking on the screen here. Thanks.
Oh, that's true. All right. So, yeah, those preset, default settings are going to be in our next release, which should be within the next couple of months. So we can't really demo them right now, but in the next release we will have a default.
Yeah, I didn't want to go long on that. One other quick question is the grade range is a bit tricky with homeschoolers because is it calculated by age as far as whether it would reject somebody that's trying to register a child that
well,
doesn't?
currently when a user creates their family, when they first register, they add their family members, names and ages. And then each year, at a preset time, I think it's June, May or June, we automatically promote people. So, and then we notify the user that their family members have been promoted. So if they want to go in and adjust that, they can do that. So, but if they don't want to adjust it, it's automatic.
That was my question, is the grade automatically calculated by their age? Because sometimes people,
No, the grade is entered directly when the person creates their family members.
Good, okay, that's great, thanks.
Yeah, and we're also in the next release, they'll be able to put birth date in there if they want, and then you can post by age instead of by grade if you want.
Cool.
Okay, so the next set of premium options are these moderating capabilities, and I think this is again where we've got some flexibility in that you can assign to each posting or each class a moderator. So, and it again depends if you have your parents post the classes or a general administrator post the class. Let's just take the case of, I don't know what direction you're leaning in, but
yeah, it would be the parent teachers, the people who are the teachers, to at least initially post the content. We'd like a moderator to approve it, to review it, and then approve it before it's active.
So, okay, so what that would be is you would, if the individual instructors are posting the content, then you would assign a moderator to be able to edit the posting content and the features. Does that make sense?
That would be ideal. So, Julie, that would be somebody from the enrichment team assigned, that the teacher would have to know to put their name, the enrichment team member, in there to review it. And then, I guess, coming back to what the tool can do, is there like a two-tiered approval process there? I mean, the teacher enters it, and then the moderator has to approve it before it's active?
Yeah, I'll show you, Glenn, how that would work. Well, actually, let's get to the end of the process, and then you'll see how that could work. So you can assign a moderator to edit the posting. Now, do you collect fees for the classes, or do you collect fees just for joining the group?
Yeah, that was another question. We collect fees for joining the group, and that fee has to be paid before they can get in to start signing up for classes. We typically leave it up to the instructor to collect fees because we're not in the business of centrally managing all the fees and stuff. Mm-hmm. We're really trying to let the instructors connect directly with the people who finally sign up for their classes and collect the fees themselves. We're not taking a cut as a co-op for each class. There's an overall enrollment fee for signing up for classes.
Okay, so that you could accomplish through creating, if you will, instead of a class, you would create an event, and it would be your sign-up event. And so you could, if you've got somebody that manages enrollment into your group, you would assign a moderator for, signing up for your group, and then you would have either somebody separate in terms of joining the group, somebody that could manage payments. So there's just a ton of flexibility in terms of designing who manages enrollment, who manages the content, who can communicate with participants, and you can continue to add different moderators to the postings so that they can, have that capability. So I can kind of give you an idea of how an individual instructor would make a posting or a class posting, and then how a moderator would come in and be able to edit the content prior to putting it up as an approved class. So let's go ahead and remove this moderator. We can come back to that if you want. So you would continue on with the form. You're going to, in the next tab, put in your details, and this is pretty obvious. You're going to choose a general subject from your main drop-down category menu, and then you're going to type in your specific class name, and then here in the description area you would type in your description. If you want to use the editor, you would highlight, if you wanted to create interest or add links or add pictures, you highlight what you're working with, and then in the editor you click the button. In our final posting, you're not going to see these bulletin board code tags. You'll be able to, those will be eliminated, and you'll just see, as I just did, red text. So next you're looking at location, and in your default group settings I'm assuming you have everything in the same location, is that correct?
No, I mean there's two major groups. One that's meets at our central location, and then there's other individual instructors who have their own set location. So.
Okay, so if you've got, I mean, you can, as an administrator, or you can assign moderators to do this, but you can actually, in your group profile, go ahead and set up predetermined locations so that you don't have to type in the same location every time. So this is a preset location that I have plugged in for this group. I mean, you could have several locations listed here if you wanted. You know, I picked this library in Guam, and I, you know, I can add multiple room numbers or assign room numbers if need be, so that if you've got multiple classes in the same location, you don't have to keep re-entering that information. Now, the other thing that we've added, and this, let's go on to the next tab. The Schedule tab is really pretty obvious. You're just going to go click on your, you know, start time, your end time, and then on the calendar, you know, you're going to click on your dates, and over here you're going to see them, you know, added to the date list. If you've made a mistake, you know, obviously you can go in and delete that. One of the new things that we've added, which is kind of nifty. Now, I don't know, do you do science fairs or history nights, or do you offer any sort of standardized testing or anything along those lines?
A science fair for sure. I mean, there are probably other things that would fall into that category.
Oh, okay. Well, what you can do now is for each class or event, you can create a sign-up with your activity, and you would do that by clicking this box down here to create a sign-up. And on my next tab, I can create my sign-up. And so you just, you know, let's just say it's, I don't know, for a potluck, you know, you just type in main dish. You know, I don't know, 10 or 6 requested, and obviously if it was just a single event, it would apply to the single date. You can use this to, you know, sign up volunteers for testing, field trip volunteers, class parties. So you just continue to add as many sign-ups as you need. You can actually select the dates that it applies to, or you can have it apply to all dates. And then down...
So you're saying, like, for a class where they had a field trip, and the instructor knows ahead of time what that field trip date is, they know they need volunteers, they can set up a sign-up for that, for example.
Absolutely, yeah. So you would, let's say I had multiple dates listed in here, but let's say it was a field trip and I needed a, you know, let's say I needed a chaperone. I could type in, you know, chaperone here, and I need, you know, 5 chaperones, and since it would be just one date, you know, I'd list it there. Yeah, so it could be physical, it could be volunteer sign-ups, food sign-ups, table sign-ups, whatever's needed, whatever you might need for that class or event. And then listed below, you know, you have the option of requiring people to volunteer or requesting that they volunteer. And then you can also send out a reminder, ask that HSsegue send out an email reminder, you know, however many days before the sign-up is required, and they'll get an email reminding them that they've actually volunteered for that position. So then what you can do is you can, you know, take a look at preview your sign-up sheet and see how it looks. You know, we can go ahead and do that. So I've got chaperones, this is what it looks like. I can go back and, you know, change it. Then going on to our next tab, we're actually looking at how enrollment will be handled. So you can actually choose to have HSsegue automatically enroll registrants on a first-come, first-served basis. If there's fees associated with that class, there will also be a pop-up to pay via PayPal, cash, or check, whatever you determine. You can type in a message, you know, thanks for enrolling in the class. If you didn't make your payment, I will send you a, you know, payment request, and I'll show you how that works. And then if you have fees associated with that particular class, you could come down here and type in materials, fees, put in your, amount of your fee, and we're going to go ahead and put in, say, $15, and then you can actually select, you can select whether or not that fee is per applicant or per family. If it's per applicant, you can say, does it apply to adults? And again, that would be, I don't know, say for a field trip. And you can also choose whether or not you don't want to exceed a certain amount per family. You can also add additional fees, for books or whatever else is needed. The next button allows you to collect multiple payments. This allows you to take a deposit and then, determine subsequent payments, how many you want that broken into, and then HSsegue can make those equal payments, or you can assign, percentages. So let's close that out. You can choose whether or not you want the fee refundable, and then enter a date that it's last refundable. And then finally, you choose whether or not how you want to accept payment. We allow you to choose to collect via PayPal, and your PayPal address is automatically populated into this this field, if you will, from your profile. Or if you're collecting as a group, you can actually enter in, PayPal account number associated, or email address associated with the PayPal account for that group. You also have the capability of collecting via cash or check, and your home address or your address from your profile is defaulted in there, but you can also provide users with additional information on where to send that. And then we've got below kind of a little calculator that allows you to plug in and show, what a family with 4 adults and 2 students would pay, and it's kind of a little sample calculator to see that you've set your posting up properly. So that's the enrollment. That's how you...
I think Glenn has a question, Kim.
Sure.
Glenn?
Yeah, just on the defaults that are populated for the PayPal email and the address, those are the profile entries for the person making the posting, which in our case would be the individual instructor, right?
That's correct. So I'm logged in as Tama.
Now that's also something in the next release. There'll be a default if you want to set up a payment, an email address associated with your group as the default for all your group postings. It sounds like you're not going to do that. You're going to let the individual instructors collect their own payments, but some groups do it centrally, and so those groups would be able to set their PayPal up as a default for all their postings.
Okay. Yep. Good. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Glenn, we went through all this, and I don't think I'm going to be able to do this for you, but because I didn't fill in all the forms. But if I hit the preview button, I actually see a preview of what I've posted, and I'm given 2 options at that time. I can either post it or I can save it for later publication. So if you wanted somebody to be able to go in and edit it, correct me if I'm wrong, Dale, but if they're assigned as a moderator, they can go in and change that even if it's not published to the board. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so if your group wants, to review and approve the postings, they would, submit it for later publication. So all your instructors would basically tee up all their classes, and then your administrators can go in, view the classes, change the whatever they want to change, or assign rooms, or however, whatever they want to do, and then publish it. And they can then publish them all in one date, or that sort of thing.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, that's what we want. I mean, even to the point of, there is kind of a date where we open registration, and we need to get somebody to go in there and approve or activate all those classes at one time.
Right.
I don't
And
know if there's a feature to do it that way, like queue them all up and then
Yep.
say go.
yeah,
Okay.
There's a feature in the next release that will actually say, it'll actually have a publication date that you can set, and then it'll automatically publish on that date.
Okay.
So let me clarify that. It won't publish on that date. It will allow registration on that date. So you can publish them anytime you want, but people can't register until a certain date.
And that's actually what we want, because we want people to be able to look at the completed, approved class descriptions before the registration date, and then finally turn on registration so they can actually start signing up.
Exactly. Yeah, there'll be a first registration date, and then it'll automatically allow registration on that date, and then there'll be a last registration date, because some groups have a cutoff that you can not register any later than X.
Yeah, that's true too. One other question, I apologize to Verena if she has other questions. I don't mean to dominate here, but you on the class setup just disappeared on me what I was going to ask. There was something in there that I...
Well, a lot of the interaction that we had earlier, Glenn, has kind of been quite helpful in guiding some of this development, because of, some of the features that you've voiced a desire for in the past have been kind of built in over time. So.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Sorry that we didn't follow through.
Well, you've been helpful.
No, you've been. We take. We take seriously all the feedback that we get, and look at ways of making the site better. And this premium option feature was something that one of our groups really requested. The other option that we added was this sign up feature, because there's a lot of groups that have large activities where they need volunteers to sign up and bring tables, or somebody to bring tablecloths, and or whatever. You can so we take your input pretty seriously. So we're glad you're back visiting.
I remember what it was I wanted to ask now. One of the challenges we have is in building out the class schedule, you had put which room number and everything it's going to be located in. Part of Julia's team's job within our homeschool group is to figure out how many people have registered finally, and actually between the time of registration and the first day of class figure out which class location that's going to be due to the volume of students in there. I mean, some, and Julia, jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, some classes they can assign ahead of time, but there are some that get shuffled around last minute. Is that accommodated in the tool somehow, or we just have to manually work around that, assign it a dummy value at the beginning, and the moderators would have to go in and change it when we get a final on it?
Right. That's what you would do. You would.
And when it's changed, anyone that is enrolled in the class would get a notification that it's changed.
Oh, cool. Okay.
That would be helpful.
Right. So if you had your moderators, you assigned a moderator that could change the content and whatnot, they could go in and edit the location, and after people had signed up, and then submit the change. They have an option. They can just submit the changes, or they can submit the changes and notify participants. And so your class participants would be notified of the class changes. And there's many other ways that you can do it as well, Glenn. And I'll show you those in a second. I got to get my demo hat back on and try to remember where I was. Okay, so we just looked at how to post a class. Now let's go ahead and look at how to reply to a class. And so I want to go back into my group for demonstration purposes and just kind of show you how replying to a class would work from a user standpoint, if you will, or a member of your group, how they would actually accomplish that. So I just clicked on my group and my computer is thinking, so I'm now back at my group page. And this is just kind of a fun thing that you can do, and so I really did want to point it out because I didn't do it. When I was showing you how to post a class, but you can, your instructors can kind of really pretty up their postings if they want. So here's one on board games, and this is me, the poster. I went in and put in a little picture, which was super easy to do. I can click the register inquire button and register for the class. I can click the view participants button and take a look at who's already participating in the class. I can look at their sign-ups associated with this, so I can jump in and see, okay, well, here's a mid-class party. They needed a veggie tray. They requested one. There's 0 left needed, so I can look at the sign-ups. And then I can just click back here. I'm going to take you to a little bit more complicated posting. Click Go Back to Group. And I'm going to show you how I would register for something a little bit more complicated to show you the full potential of HSsegue. But this is Stanford.
Tamma?
Yeah.
One had a question about how we split out the classes from events. So you might want to show him, I'm not sure this completely answers the question, but you might want to show how you would, sort the list by type.
I don't think I have an event listed here, Glenn, but basically posting type here, it says tutored class. If I had posted an event, it would say right here, post a local event. The form is similar, just a little bit different. The posting type would say local event or event over here. And so that's one way you could sort it out. Another way that you could
also,
another way that you could sort it out is by, clicking sort your events out by local events. Now, if I click that, I'm not going to see anything because I didn't have any local events right here posted in my group. But you could sort those out separately in that fashion. Does that make sense? Okay, so
if once again they wanted to post that on their website, if you sort the way you're sorted, Tamma, then click the Get Code. You've probably seen, embed code like from YouTube or Gmail, or I'm sorry, Google Maps or that sort of thing. This is the same sort of thing. So you could sort by classes and then hit the Get Code and embed that in your web page, and it would just list those classes. And then you could sort by events, get the code, and it would just show the events.
That'd be perfect. That'd be great for us.
Okay. So back to how to reply. I'm going to go ahead and show you as a member of my group how I would reply to Stanford Achievement Testing. So again, it's kind of the same idea. There's all the important information. There's links to BJU for ordering better test scores. There's all the information on the testing dates, how much it cost. It's not refundable. You can contact me by clicking on my name and sending me a message directly. Or, again, I can view the sign-ups. I can view the participants, or I can register. So I'm going to go ahead and click the register button. I'm going to click from the drop-down menu, Count Me In. There's a list of current participants that have applied, and I'm sorry, there's a list of my eligible family members, and there's a list of the current participants. Now it shows me that I've already applied Daniel in the event, so it's smarter than me. I can't apply him twice. So let's go ahead and enroll or apply for enrollment Isaac and Isabel. Then I click to the Sign Up tab, and it gives me the various sign-ups that are available on Let's see, the first set of signups on 4/3. There's another set of signups on 4/5. And again, this is a real posting. This is what we actually have for our group. So I'm going to go ahead and sign myself up to be a proctor for the 3rd grade class. And as you can see, it signs me up for all 3 days because that's how I set the posting up to begin with. And then I can go to the submit column and say, you know, thanks, type in my comment, thanks for organizing this, or whatever comment I want. I click preview, and it tells me what students I'm enrolling or requesting enrollment, tells me what my sign-up positions are, and it tells me how much money I will owe. Then I click the submit button, and at the time that I submit my request, still thinking, I get a pop-up to pay. So I can go ahead and click the Pay Now button and pay via PayPal, but I'm just going to click Continue so I can show you, as the organizer, how I would manage fees. Now what you just saw was somebody enrolling for a class, and here's what's happening behind the scenes. When somebody applies for enrollment in my class as the organizer, or if I've been assigned a moderator to moderate enrollment, I get an email notification. That email notification tells me that somebody has applied to my class. It directs me back to HSsegue, to this private online message system, and when I click on the flashing envelope, I see that the first one I see, it's a bit confusing because I'm not only the person that has applied, but I'm also the organizer. So this is the first message I would get, and it says that, you know, Dear Tama, you have an applicant to the following posting. Thanks for organizing this. And then I click on the link, and I can go ahead and go to my manage screen for that class and see that this is my quick calculator. I've got 9 students that have enrolled. I see their names, I see their parents' names, I see their status, and I can actually go ahead and click on the student's or participant's name, and I have the ability to manage enrollment. So I can either decline them, I can contact that individual individually, I can rate list them, or I can remove them. That's how you would manage their enrollment. But I set this up as auto-enroll, so all of these students were enrolled on a first-come, first-served basis. Now, as the organizer, how would I manage fee collection? I got a barking dog in the other room. I would click on the person's name, Goldie Drews, and I would click the Manage Payments button.
You're going to have to mute yourself now, Ken.
I know. I don't know what to do with her. She's rebelling because I locked her in a room. Dale, can you just talk about that real quick and let me go put her outside?
Yeah. What are we talking about? Payments? Managing payments?
Yeah. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of your accounting screen, and I don't have cursor capability here, so I can't do a whole lot. But basically, it shows the parents' names of each family that's signed up for that particular class, and then you can select that that parent's name, and you can either request a payment, you can view their payment history. You can record a payment if you're taking payments by check.
I'm back.
As opposed to PayPal. If it's PayPal, it's recorded automatically. But if it's not PayPal, you may need to record manual payments, and that's what the record item is.
So Dale, let me take over. I think he was starting to say you would click on the person's name, and here's the request payment feature. I click request payment, and I can look at a statement to determine how much I actually want to request. They owe me $150, so I would put in, you know, the date that it's due, PayPal cash or check. This is where you can send it to. Here's the address. Or I can just, you know, select PayPal and make it a little easier on myself. And I would put in the amount that they owe. And that's pretty easy. You know, type in a message, pay up please. And I can actually attach documents if I need to and then submit that request. Now, Amy gets a statement with a link in it that says, takes her to PayPal where she can make that payment. So the history button allows me to, excuse me, I have to pick her name. The history button allows me to go in and look at the history of my payment requests, and there it is. Today, January 20th, I've requested $150. This allows me to, if Amy paid me, this would be via PayPal, this would automatically be recorded, but I could go ahead and put in cash, you know, check, whatever payments had been made as kind of a personal accounting system for this class. My statement button allows me to actually send a statement directly to the user, so she would get the statement, you know, in her private online message box. And then once again, I can go back and use the manage participant screen to you know, manage my participants. So that's basically how the...
Glenn had a question, Tim.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't auto-enroll people, so if you turn off auto-enroll, does that screen, and I think he's referring to this screen, show who's registered and not yet paid? Oh, the last screen. Sorry, go back to the previous screen. I think the manage participants.
So let's go to, there's my manage participant screen, this one right here.
Yeah, that's the one. And so the question is, does that show who has registered and not paid if they're not in, you know, if they didn't pay when they registered? I guess. Yeah.
I'm not sure I understand the question, Dale. Maybe you need to take over there.
I think what Glenn is saying is that, you know, is there a way to look at this screen quickly and see who's paid? But I think that's the next screen, basically, is where we do that. That's the manage payment screen. We don't indicate on this screen anything about payments. This is just kind of the roster. And we did that, Glenn, to kind of separate the, you know, accounting functions a little bit from the enrollment functions, so that when, like if you set up a moderator, you can have moderators that are can only moderate enrollment, but can't touch the books or can't, you know, manage payments at all. And so this screen is really intended to manage enrollment more, you know, more than the accounting aspects. So, but if you have access to the manage payments button, which it is a poster, but and if the poster assigns you as a, you know, an accounting moderator, you would have that access to the manage payments screen, and then that's where you would handle all of the, you know, who's paid and who hasn't paid.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, I just had some background noise here. I didn't want to talk on the phone.
Okay,
thanks.
Okay, and then the last thing, so that's the manage payment screen, and then the last screen that we'll look at is So we've talked about how to go in and look at the fee management, but if you've created the class and or you've been assigned a moderator to communicate with the class, once the class roster is set up, you can continue to communicate with that class or the event participants throughout the life of the class with the click of one button, which is pretty cool. So I don't know if this is something that you're interested in, but by simply clicking the Contact Enrolled button, you can send the same message to everybody on your roster by just simply, typing in your message. This is really great for classes because a lot of times people have assignments that they hand out on a weekly basis, and this allows you to go ahead and add up to 3 attachments, and just by clicking the browse button, uploading them onto this screen, and then by clicking submit, that message will go out again to all of the people that have been enrolled in this Stanford Achievement Testing. So basically we've looked at how to manage activities, how to manage your participants, your fee management, how you can continue to communicate with class or event participants via that Contact Enroll button. So there's just a ton of flexibility depending on the needs of your group. Now the only screen that we haven't showed you, and we want to kind of wrap this up because we've gone a little bit over time, is the Manage Activities screen. This is everything that I have posted on HSsegue. And so this shows you that, here's my testing class and my group in Guam. This is my drama class that I've posted, and it tells me that I've assigned a moderator, Pascal, to this posting. This again tells me that I've assigned a moderator to this posting, and that would be Amy Drews. This tells me that the posting has been published. The green check mark tells me it's been published. The X tells me it's not published on the board. And that's where, Glenn, you would have your parents create the postings, save them for later publication, and then your moderators would be able to go in and click on the class name and look at the...
If you're a moderator, you would see this.
If you're a moderator, you would see this in your screen, in your activities screen, and this is where you as a moderator could go in, look at the details, change the location, assign now a room number, take a look at how everything appears and make sure it looks good and it's been approved. And then you would go to the preview screen, and there it is, drama circle time, there are the days. And since I now assigned a classroom, I would submit the changes, notify the participants, and if I assigned edit it after I assigned a classroom, or I could simply submit the changes. And
in that case, no one's notified.
In that case, nobody's notified. Right now, I think Dale had mentioned that we're working on our next release. I think you had mentioned something about you wanted a certain day where all classes were available to view. Mm-hmm. So what you would do this manually right now. You would check all these as X's, and then on the day that you wanted those released, you would publish them to your group. Let's go ahead and
just go through
and click the X's, and they now all appear in your group. So that's how we accomplish that today.
Before you wrap up, Tim, I think you probably ought to hit the My Calendar page just to show what the family is, how they can access their activities.
Right. So up here you've got a link to your family where you you can add your family members. These are all my family members. I've got a lot of kids for demonstration purposes. This is my calendar, and this is different from the group calendar. So this is only things that I have signed up for. So, you know, I see in January, let's see, Isaac is signed up for a real English composition class, which he is indeed signed up for. And on Mondays, I can see that he has 2 classes, online class and a great books literature class. I can sort by family, members. And I also can go in on my registration, which is pretty nifty, and see, you'll see a lot because this is actually for demonstration, but you can see my registrations and I can click on what I owe. So it says, I owe $150, so I am going to request an invoice, and I could actually click request an invoice, and the invoice would go to the organizer. So, yeah, that kind of.
Glenn asked a question about whether you can export that calendar, print or export the calendar, and not today, but in a future release, maybe this one, I'm not quite sure, but there'll be an iCal function where you can export it in an iCal format.
So I think let's go ahead and just tab back over, see, to the slides. And let me go ahead and scroll down. So we did talk about
one other question, Tamara, that Glenn had about how does the site handle mobile device viewing. And Glenn, I think you might want to just take a look yourself with but it's when we do each time we do a release, we test a whole plethora of platforms, about 30 in all. Testing seems to be as intensive as the actual programming, but we do test on like phones like pads and Android phones and Android tablets. So the site is mobile friendly. There's no separate website for mobile phones, but all of the features of the site work on mobile phones. Sorry, Hannah. I don't know if you might be muted, Tim. I don't know if you're talking.
Oh, I am. Thank you. I'm just going to skip through this because we talked about once people were registered, you can send out class assignments, you can send payment requests, you can manage your fees. Tutors and instructors may post to HSsegue even within your own group. You can post needs within your group or outside of the group. And I didn't sound like you were particularly interested in this at the moment, but you can make some of your postings public. You can do member-to-member communication through our POM system. You've got that personal and group calendar. We did look at that personalized payment page, so now you can see what your payments are due and what's made. And as Dale mentioned, you can embed that code, but if you create a group on HSsegue, we can link it directly to, and this is an example of just one group that we've got on HSsegue. This is their domain, Laugh Club, and when they give out that domain number, it takes them directly to their Learning and Fun group page. So I think that's it, and I thank you for attending. Now, is it Verena? Is she part of your group, or are you with another group, Verena? No, not part of the group. Well, thank you for coming. We had about 20 people sign up, and we have about 3 or 4 attendants, so we just really thank you for your time today. And here we have a small group, but I wasn't able to join for the first 30 minutes. Well, Verena, we're going to be we do these webinars, especially now in the spring, because a lot of people are thinking about next year. We'll be hosting another one in 2 weeks. We will go ahead and post this recording, though it did get rather specific to one group because we were limited in size today. We could do that, but I just really want to thank you for attending today, and I thank you for your time. And we're always willing to listen to ideas, and we incorporate as much as we can. So Glenn, thank you for revisiting us, and feel free to contact us if you have any other questions going forward.
Yeah, we may need to do I don't know, probably get some more people to join a one-on-one. Julie could talk more about that as to what we need to do to kind of take this next step in our group.
How many members do you have?
Well, we've got 230 families right now.
Okay. Oh my gosh, and you're doing this all manually?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, I think we might have, a solution. Whenever you make some changes, it does, take you get some resistance, as you know, but, most of the time it's just the first couple of weeks, and then things kind of start rolling, and people go through kind of the ouch of change, and then they jump in and they think, oh my gosh, how did we do this before? So
that might be a good question, is how do you handle training the people who will be instructors and editing things and making entries, the moderators themselves, like more the central homeschool group that's overseeing the effort, and then finally just the parents who are trying to get in there and register and set things up. Is it considered self-instructive, or do you actually typically engage a group to train them?
It depends on the needs of the group. So we've got a lot of FAQs that once you create a group on HSsegue, we see that, and you've got a 90-day free trial period of the site. And so what we do is we send out links, to the FAQs that kind of help you get started, and then we forward the leaders in the group FAQ links for the individuals to make their postings. So it's a little bit of both. We can do a one-on-one training session if you can assure us that you'll have high participation. And we have done that in the past. It just is fairly labor intensive for us to do it for every group, so we've tried to automate it the best we can by giving you rollout tools, so that you can kind of spoon feed, if you will, your membership depending on what you're doing. But again, we can do an administrative training if you can assure us that you've got a goodly participation.
Meaning you don't want to do it more than you don't want to do it multiple times for each administrator. Is that what you're saying? That's Tama's done a lot of those kind of helping groups through the beginning process, and she's actually got a written rollout plan as well that can help kind of step by step. Here's what you should do. So.
We've got suggestions, and it all kind of depends. It basically depends on your group. And I'm going to have to say this kind of delicately. You'll have about 80% of your people that will just jump in and be on board with this. You'll have about 10 to 15% maybe that kind of complain and drag their feet about it, and then you'll have a very small percentage that will just kick up their heels and throw a fit. and it's consistent. It's totally consistent.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually why I was asking about the print capabilities, because I know there are people that will still just want to go click on one document and see the entire class list in a PDF, and that's their list to go from. They'll go talk to the instructors, and the instructors will probably have to self-register those people. There are some people, for ideological reasons, they want to stay off the grid, or others that just don't have computer access on a regular basis that we kind of need to keep tabs on as well.
Yeah, and you know, the one thing that they do what they do need, Glenn, is they do need a profile on HSsegue, even if they want the instructors to register them themselves. You know, they're going to need to have a profile in HSsegue. That's how we manage everything. But typically with groups, you know, it's just as I said, you're going to have a large percent that just jump in and embrace it. And we're seeing this, you know, we've been out, I don't know, we've first rolled out 5 years ago. We really just started our groups, really just beefed up our group capability, you know, in the last 6 months to be, you know, super intense, I should say, or effective. And we're just seeing that that is consistently the case, but we're also seeing that there's a new generation of homeschoolers that are moving forward that embrace technology much more than we even did see 2 years ago. So.
And you know, the folks, you know, we do hear in some cases, you know, there are, you know, members of groups that want to stay off the grid, so people can register. And they have to have a working email address. You know, but if they want to register with pseudonyms and, you know, call their children child 1, child 2, and they don't have to, you know, put their, you know, address in unless you want to. So, you know, it can be fairly anonymous. I mean, we just usually ask them if they have a cell phone. And if you have a cell phone, you're not off the grid.
Right.
You know, people, you know, like to think they're off the grid, and they're not. And
yeah, I was
so
just mainly
we're all
asking,
getting a lot more connected.
can the tabular display in the site be printed eventually and posted as a document somewhere on our website easily?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, in the next release, there's a kind of a group catalog function so that the administrator can just, you know, sort it the way they want it and then print it, and it shows, you know, all the classes in kind of a catalog format.
So these classes or these events would all be listed in a catalog format. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, do you have an example, or?
We have a format. I can send you offline, Glenn. I can show you the format that we're planning to implement.
That'd be great.
In the process of implementing. And if you had any, you know, thoughts on additional, you know, information you'd like to see in it, that'd be good too. So.
Well, thank you so much for going far overtime. I can't tell you thanks enough, and hopefully the other people on the phone with useful info to them.
Anna, did you get to the group forum? I don't know if you ever clicked that link.
You know, I did not get to the group forum mainly because you know, we just had it didn't seem like it was of great interest, but let me go ahead and I will just show you, you know, the group forum is really strong, and I know that if you've got a Yahoo group, you might not be interested in it, you know, for now, but it's fantastic. You can send out, you know, you can do different categories, and members of your group can, you know, subscribe to different categories. You know, you can even have your teachers list their classes in the group forum, and, you know, if post in the forum if they want about class activities, and then the different class members can, you know, subscribe to that forum. Now, again, it might be something that you're not ready to do yet, but it's a pretty powerful tool, and we've got a number of folks that are using the forum in very creative ways. So, just know that that's, an option for you. And this, of course, back to group button takes you then, back to your group. So, well, thank you so very much for your time, and appreciate you attending today. And Verena, I will send you another invite, or I'd like to maybe just contact you offline since you came in a little bit late, and learn a little bit more about your group, and then we can see how HSsegue may work for you. All right, thank you for attending.
Thanks again from our side. Really appreciate it.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.